Hi guys, welcome back to the Shannon Show podcast. Hello if you're new. So today's episode is going to be a review of Too Hot to Handle Season 1 Episode 4. So in this episode, it seems that everything has kind of gone back to normal. We don't really hear much of the whole money loss drama that was going on last episode. But there seems to be a lot of relationship drama this episode. So it begins with David and Sharon having a little talk outside. Sharon is basically saying how he still needs space and he's not ready to open up to Rhonda yet, and she just needs to respect his space. Rhonda is getting a bit fed up of Sharon at this point. She's kind of thinking, should she explore other options? And at this point, I was over the situation of Rhonda and Sharon. I just kind of felt like Sharon is a waste of time and she'd be better off either just doing her own thing or exploring something with somebody else. Now, there was a challenge in this episode where they decided to pair up David and Rhonda. Obviously, they had a little thing going on in the first episode. David was hopeful to get with her before Sharon swooped in, and he kind of just took a step back. But they both used this challenge to reconnect with each other. They get a little close, they get a little intimate, and it seems like they have a good connection, a better connection than what I initially thought Sharon and Rhonda had. And, there were some bits, that part when David was crying, I'm not going to lie, I thought maybe that was a little bit suspect. Maybe there was other things to play in terms of him crying. I'm not sure if that was entirely Rhonda. But at that point in the episode, I was kind of thinking, well, maybe I had been a bit too rash, a bit too harsh on this whole Rhonda and David thing, because Rhonda looks at peace with David. She's not stressed with David. And then we have Shalom, and then we have Sharon in the background. Obviously, he's paired with somebody else. Looking at them, he's not impressed. He sees that they're connecting and he's pressed. And now all of a sudden he's in the confessional like, oh, now I suddenly realize how much I really want to be with Rhonda. That old chestnut. You see that she's desired by somebody else and now suddenly you want to step up your game. Honestly, I think it's a bit cheeky, to be honest. I'm not here for his comeback, to be honest. Honestly, at that point, I wasn't here for it. I just kind of felt like, go away. Continue having your me time. Continuing having your distance. Stay away from Rhonda. On the other hand, the messy part of me was also like, is this going to be a new triangle? Is this going to be some rival here? Obviously, Sharon is very headstrong. He was definitely not just giving Rhonda the evils, but he was definitely giving David the evils as well. And obviously up until that point, him and David were really good friends. We see a little skit of them at the beginning of the episode of them being buddy. They've had jokes here and there. And of course, his last relationship ended because his woman left him for his best friend. So there's even more added drama and complexity to this. So the messy part of me was here for the drama that I thought was going to happen. So after that whole challenge, after getting reconnected with David, Rhonda is now like, oh, well, I'm not sure who I should choose because if I choose David, I just feel like everything is going to be plain sailing. Everything is going to be easy. I know I'm going to get what I want out of that relationship. But with Sharon, he's my type, but it's going to be a challenge with him. Then she's like, I'm not one to shy away from a challenge. And I'm just rubbing my temples because I just don't get why you wouldn't want an easy life for yourself. Why would you not want an easy life for yourself? When it comes to partners and relationships, pick the easy option. Pick the man is going to be there for you, who is going to not make you work like a dog to get what you actually need. Ladies, message. always pick the easier option. So when she was saying that, I was just like, oh. She's still in that stage of her life, okay. I think possibly she's one of those people who think that love is supposed to be like really hard work. I personally don't think it's meant to be that way, but what do you guys think in terms of partnerships and relationships? Do you think like, you know, challenges are good, you should work through challenges with your partner, or do you feel like it's just better to pick someone who the relationship is effortless with, where there is no stress, where there is no anxiety, where you are not constantly second guessing yourself? What do you guys think? So then we see David and Rhonda go on a date, and again the date itself was really nice. Granted, there isn't as much chemistry as there wasn't as much chemistry as there was with Sharon. There was still something there, something that could be worked with. Not gonna lie, at that point I was thinking, I think Rhonda should jump ship. I think it's time to set sail the David ship. You know, I feel like David had stepped up, he had proven himself. I was convinced at this point, and I was ready to begin standing David and Rhonda. See though, Rhonda, obviously after the whole challenge situation and of course after the whole date situation, Sharon was very standoffish with both of them. Again, I was just thinking, this is like really childish. And David takes it upon himself to be the bigger person and goes to have a talk with Sharon. Sharon was being very standoffish, very antagonistic, basically calling David a snake that he snuck around his back, you know, accusing him of not being honest about his feelings for Rhonda. And then he goes on a rant basically saying that, you know, Rhonda is the only person he has a connection with in here. And in that whole conversation, I was just thinking, obviously David defends himself. He says, you know that I had a thing for Rhonda since the beginning, and that is true. David did tell him at the beginning, he just forgot, and he's trying to reason with him. And in terms of that whole interaction, what I found very strange is the fact that Sharon said she's the only person I have a connection with, and I felt like at that point he was trying to guilt trip David into backing off, because, you know, if you are the best candidate for someone, it shouldn't matter who else is trying to pursue that person, because if you are the best candidate, you'll get picked. I mean, like, there's always going to be competition, you know? You just got to make sure that you are the best candidate. But obviously, Sharon has not been the best candidate, has he? Now, in terms of what I thought the outcome of this conversation was going to be, I thought they were both going to hash it out, but I thought it was going to be a thing where it was like, well, David said he has an interest in Rhonda, and it would be a thing of, you know, let the best man win. But David, again, I don't know why, suddenly backtracks and decides that he's going to take a step back. He's going to give Sharon basically a clear pathway to secure Rhonda, and basically says, I will step to the side and I will keep my distance if you promise to step up and be the man that Rhonda needs. And then obviously now Sharon's happy about it, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna be the man that Rhonda needs. And now suddenly he wants to fix up. And my main issue is, it shouldn't have been taken another man who was essentially your competition and being nice by giving you a clear path to give you that kick up the backside that you needed to step up your game. I think, if anything, like I said, it's cheeky that now you're suddenly realising how valuable Rhonda is now that somebody else wants her. Even still, at that point when you're seeing, okay, somebody else is showing interest in here, let me go talk to her, let me go prove to her I'm the best candidate. Instead, you're just walking around the house looking like a slapped ass, being all grumpy. So I'm not glad that they're back together. I'm not glad that they have reconciled. And I can't ship this relationship. I can't. I feel like now at this stage of the show, I think David is actually the better candidate for Rhonda if Rondo's even to have a partner. But I'd be interested to hear what you guys think. Who do you think is the better candidate? Do you feel like it is Sharon, it's always been Sharon? Or do you feel like David has stepped up to the plate and proven that he is actually the better candidate? Let me know what your thoughts were on that whole situation. Another sort of reconcile that we see is Harry and Fran. At the beginning of the episode, we see Harry say that he wants Francesca back, but he alludes to the fact that he wants Francesca to come back to be the one who comes to him, which I thought was incredibly delusional. Again, he was also looking like a slapped ass in the challenge, because in the challenge, Kels and Francesca were paired up, and then Kels and Francesca, they have a little date, they connect, things get a little bit steamy, things get a little bit intimate. They don't end up breaking the rules, even though Francesca kind of was tempting him too, and she kind of alluded to the fact that she didn't need the money, which I suspected. I suspected that she didn't need the money, to be honest. So yeah, she's just willing to break the rules willy-nilly. But obviously, Kels is the accountant, and I can tell he needs that 10k because the resistance was quite something. But I feel like Fran definitely took that as an insult, that he wasn't willing to break the rules for her. I think maybe it's a conceited thing that she thinks that she's so hot, that she is just this temptress that people will break the rules for just to get a sample of her. And when he didn't break those rules, I think that was definitely an ego deflator for her. So as quickly as she shows interest in him, she breaks it off with him. Kels takes it well, but you can tell he's just kind of like, me, the Adonis, has been denied. But yeah, he takes it fairly well. And throughout Fran and Kels' short-lived dating duration, Harry is just on the sidelines like, oh, well, Kels is uglier than me, this and that. Like, and him and Sharon were having a little bit of bitching sessions. And it was just very sad and very miserable. And it's just very clear that Harry is very insecure. And I think that's why he does dodgy stuff that he does, all of the mean things that he does and the manipulative stuff that he does, is because he's very insecure. We don't see them get back together, but Fran basically alludes to the fact that she's going to go back to him. I'm over it. I'm over Fran. I just kind of feel like you have like so much bad bitch potential, but what is this behavior, Fran? Like, going back to Harry, really? I expected more from you. And then we also see, I guess you could say, something happening between Chloe and the new guy, Bryce. Bryce, again, I'm just getting sugar daddy vibes from him. He just looks like considerably older. And him being with Chloe, who was quite young, again, it just looks like a sugar daddy, sugar baby relationship. It just looks like an odd pairing. Chloe is entertaining him, but I just feel like Chloe is bored because, again, I don't see any chemistry here. Bryce is definitely looking her up and down. He's wanting to break the rules with her, I think. He definitely wants a young slice. He definitely wants a young piece of art, definitely. Like I said, I think the only person she has eyes for in that house is Harry. Whether she will admit it, whether we'll see them pursuing it, I guess we'll have to see. But yeah, Bryce is a bit of a weird one. Like, that whole performance was so weird. Very LA, and his voice kind of sounded like the male version of those YouTube indie cover girls. Definitely sounded like that, but you know, a bit worse. But yeah, how are we guys warming to Bryce? Well, one side note I have to say is that I even almost forgot her name, just about remembered it. Nicole is literally just an extra of this series. I'd be so pissed off if I was her, because she's really just been given an extra edit. We hardly see her. That's pretty much the rundown of this episode. Like I said in my prior podcast, the way I will be dishing out these reviews is that I will be watching the episodes, then recording my podcast, then editing and uploading and repeating. I'd strongly recommend subscribing to my channel and putting me on notifications, so you will know as soon as the next episode drops. So yeah, you might as well subscribe. Till next time, guys. Bye.